thing.
You grew up on a farm, and I wonder if you can tell us maybe 3 things that you learned as a child that you feel created the scientist that you are today.
I loved going on a tractor to the hills of the village to read the philosophy books. And that gave me sort of the peace of mind away from people. And that's one thing that I'm practicing now. I don't care how many likes I have, it's really irrelevant. And philosophy gave me a sense of the bigger picture, thinking about the big picture, not about the technical details. Because, in science, most scientists are nerds. They just dig down the path that they took early on, and they reach sometimes the bedrock of the subject they work on, and then they can't discover anything new. And I'm very different. I'm broad. I look at it philosophically. That makes me quite different. And the only reason I ended up as a scientist is because of circumstances. That I was recruited to the Israeli military, and I thought the best way of passing through those years would be to pursue a degree in physics and mathematics, and that was possible in a special program that I attended. And actually, the reason I'm in the U.S. is because President Reagan started the Strategic Defense Initiative in the mid 1980s, and the first international project that they funded was led by me and an experimentalist, and that brought me to Washington, D.C. And after that, I was offered a position at Princeton. And so, it was all a chain of circumstances. And later in life, I realized that it was an arranged marriage, but I'm actually married to my true love because I can pursue philosophical questions using the scientific method. And that's what I'm doing. And the last thing that I learned from childhood was the connection to nature. Nature is so beautiful. When I jog every morning, I see, wild turkeys, ducks, bunnies. It's just beautiful. I enjoy that. Much more rewarding than speaking with people. Okay, and this connection to nature came from my childhood on a farm, and so 3 things: having the philosophical outlook, and being connected to nature, and not the style of being on a farm is also, you want to get the job done. That's the kind of people I work with. That's the father that I have. He wouldn't say much. He would solve problems. He would not show off. It's a very different tradition of actually doing things than talking about them. And what you find today on social media is people talk and talk and talk and not do anything. Even if they care about the cause, they use it to signal their virtues rather than actually solve the problem. They would put something in their backyard, a sign that says that they care about the problem, but they wouldn't do anything to solve the problem. This is not the way. And the right way is, that what my father taught me, which is, just do it, and do it in a way that is not bragging. It's just doing the right thing.
Our final question for you, what do you want people to think about when they think about the future of humanity, our species, or our planet?
Okay, first, I thought that you will ask a question that I was asked recently, and that is, how do I want to be remembered? And the answer to that is by my future work. I don't care about what I did in the past. I want people to remember me by what I will do in the future. Okay, and it will always be true because I always want to get better. But in terms of the future of humanity, it basically follows from what we discussed. My hope is that, first of all, we will realize, let's say, if 3i Atlas happens to be an alien tech, or if some future object happens to be alien tech, we will come together. We will realize that we are all in the same boat, and it will start a sort of a messianic age of cooperation here on Earth. That's my hope, that instead of looking down at each other, we will look up. And then once we realize there is much more real estate out there, and the stage is so big and offers so many resources, my hope is that within the next few hundreds of years, humanity will move on to have groups of people living on platforms, the space platforms, that is the next transition. As we went from trees in the jungle to high rises in cities, and the next step is going to space in a habitat that will support us. And that's the way I see it. Now, my hope is that before I die, we will find a way to extend life. And I want to live forever. If I can do that, then the priorities will change, of course.
Avi, we have the solution. Believe in God and you will live forever.
It could be an illusion that you convince yourself of some story. As I said, I don't want stories. I want actually AI assisted medicine to extend my life. I don't need a story, because the problem with this story is that once you die, you can't go back and say you were wrong.
I'm going to come back and tell you, Avi. I'm going to be like, Avi, you were wrong.